Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski, and welcome back to day 4 of my PokeMMO From Scratch series in 2025. We are on the Lunar New Year Andy account. This series is all about starting a new account with only 5 or so days left in an event in PokeMMO and seeing how much progress we can make along the way. We have a whole list of goals, which we've achieved making the 1 million Pokeyen, but we have a lot of other stuff to do that we haven't really gotten yet to properly. We have to make a full raid team, hopefully. We need to get more utility Pokemon. I still need to finish the storyline. We're making decent progress in everything, but we're not really there in any of them yet, except for the 1 million Pokeyen, but we're going to be spending some of that today, right? So it's nice that one of the best buys I've gotten so far is this Breloom. This is a really nice utility Pokemon, a catching Breloom that I was able to find for a pretty solid price on the GTL. Adamant nature, 20 plus attack and speed, 25 plus even. This is a good example of a catching Breloom you want to get your hands onto. We're gonna have to put false swipe and spore and stuff onto it, and then importantly, it's level 52. We can't even use it yet. So we have the main thing I want to work on today immediately is storyline progress, being able to get the 8th gym badge and eventually defeat the Elite Four, unlock the ability to use level 100 Pokemon. Getting access to level 100 Pokemon in your first region is super crucial. It gives you access to EV training, XP training, and just doing a lot more in the region during events, stuff that you might otherwise not be able to. We're starting today with around 1.4 million Pokeyen. Hopefully we see that stat grow. The main way we've been making Pokeyen throughout the Lunar New Year event has been grinding Abundant Shrine. I'd like to try some other things, but it's when you're a new player, it's just so good to abuse the event. It's so good. It's such insane Pokeyen per hour for a new player. You could do it with just 4 gym badges in most of the regions. Super, super powerful stuff. So we're going to continue forward today. I'm going to start making my way over to Opelucid City. We finished all the little mini quests over here in Icarus. Let's go ahead and start biking. There was a bit more yapping and storyline stuff than I expected here. I mean, typical Unova storyline, but just to point it out, instead of going straight over to Opelucid City, I did have to head over to the Desert Resort over by Route 4, and now we need to head over to Nakreen City. I'm honestly not reading the storyline. I don't really remember what happens or know what happens. I'm kind of just following along very, very vaguely. So if I can do this with zero brain, you guys can do it too. I believe in you. Let's go ahead and head over here, and then hopefully we'll unlock the 8th gym access very, very soon. All right, if you're like me, you're getting confused in the storyline, a good thing to take a note of is the storyline over near Icarus City kind of goes like, do the gym, go to Dragon Spiral Tower, head over to the Desert Resort, go through Relic Castle, and then you head over to Nakreen just for like a split second to like talk to some of the like Alder and stuff, and then you fly back to Icarus City, and now we can make our way over to the Opelucid City. So now there's a big rival fight, a Bianca rival fight heading over there, but we are making our way towards the 8th gym badge finally. All right, it did take 2 attempts, but as long as we land this Aqua Tail, we will have defeated most likely our rival here, Bianca, heading over to Opelucid. I actually didn't do enough damage because the Pasho Berry responds to the Scald. We are okay as long as we don't miss this second Aqua Tail, 90% accuracy, and of course we hit those 100% of the time. Finally making our way. It's taken a little bit longer than I expected, but finally making our way over to the 8th gym badge. Doing this challenge has honestly taught me some extra appreciation for the storyline runs. I always say, and I try to keep this in mind because I don't like the storyline runs, but they take a while. They take effort. They take, redoing fights. Obviously, if it's an alt account where you can transfer over a Porygon Z and a Moxie Crocodile and a Moxie Gyarados or really powerful storyline mons, yeah, you can steamroll through. But for the average player, for most players, you're going to have a tough time. You kind of have to just kind of persevere and get through it. And it's going to take more time than I think a lot of people realize. The PokeMMO storylines with their slight increased difficulty, it can pose a real problem. So definitely allotting more time than you would think for the storyline, something to factor in. I don't even remember this bridge. When was the last time I rode this bridge in PokeMMO? That's another cool thing, is just seeing things you haven't seen in a super long time. All right, I'm finally here. I am at the 8th gym badge city over in Opelucid, and I need to prepare a little bit. So I know that we're going against the Dragon Gym Leader, and I know that Gyarados can learn Ice Fang. However, it learns it at like level 6 or so, and obviously we're way past that. So time for a quick lesson if you don't know. And this can be, I think it's underused in storyline runs. Something you can do is go buy a few heart scales if you can afford them. Thankfully, heart scales aren't too expensive, but you got usually buy 3 or 4 or so. You need like a few of them. You might want to check how many exactly you need before buying them, unlike I just did, but you want to go get them and then go talk to this gray hair guy. You can use them to relearn moves. They kind of add up. They're not that expensive a piece, but if you need 4 of them, You know, 32k during your storyline run is kind of a lot of Pokeyen. We'd select our Gyarados, go select Ice Fang, and as you can see, it only needed one heart scale, so we kind of wasted a bit of Pokeyen, but you can always use heart scales down the line. I'm going to replace Dragon Tail with Ice Fang. That'll give us access to an Ice-type move to use against all these dragons. Obviously not the most powerful Ice-type move, but it's a physical Ice-type move, so it's better on Gyarados as opposed to something like Ice Beam, and it should give us like just enough oomph to essentially go sweep this entire gym. So I'm going to go put Nevermelt Ice on my Gyarados, go set up 1 or 2 Dragon Dances, hopefully against Iris, the gym leader, and it should be a pretty clean sweep. Like one Pokemon, just Gyarados, should take everybody out in my guess. All right, I believe this slash from my Samurott should be enough for the 8th gym badge. Hopefully we do enough damage, but just barely. Just kidding, not quite. I might have to pop a revive here, actually. I was going to say, this was actually a much more difficult gym badge than I expected for 2 reasons. Number 1, there are so many rough skin Rocky Helmet Druddigons on the way to this gym, so it severely chipped down my team along the way. Reason number 2 is because of Dragon Tail. It was really, really difficult to set up a lot of my D-Dances and actually get my Gyarados big and strong when they could just Focus Sash Dragon Tail or just get a Dragon Tail off while I'm setting up my dances, and then it force switches out my Pokemon. So definitely a more tough gym than I expected, even with the Ice Fang. Really glad I got the Ice Fang, because this would have been a nightmare without it. It was super, super helpful and beyond worth the 1 heart scale that it cost me. Let's just go ahead. I was going to cut the recording for a sec, but let's just go ahead and do it. Ice Fang on this guy is honestly going to hit my Gyarados down to such low HP, hilariously. Once again, from Rough Skin plus Rocky Helmet. Watch this. I'm going to go from 50% HP all the way down to like what? 21%. I took 26% damage or so just by attacking my enemy. That is a scary thing to go against in a storyline when you're fighting so many trainers back to back. There's the 8th gym badge. Huge, monumental achievement for the account. The E4 is next. Alrighty, I do have 2 quick updates to the account. I went ahead and made my way through Victory Road because that's not very exciting, so I went ahead and just finished through that cave. So I am ready to actually take on the Elite Four whenever I am ready. However, my Pokemon are severely under-leveled for that, so I'll probably be working on a little bit of EV training and XP training at some point when I get around to that, and I'll probably show you guys what that process looks like, because I feel like a lot of people ask me about early game EV training and XP training, like prepping for the Elite Four like this, especially in Unova. If this is your starting region, I feel like it could be pretty helpful. So we might work on that kind of soon, but also I did go ahead and do some more runs of Abundant Shrine. So I have some red envelopes and lucky reds selling. I think it's around 220k Pokeyen sitting here, so I'll be up to 1.6 mil, and that'll put me in a comfortable state to go ahead and start breeding some of those raid Pokemon here very, very, very soon. I will say, as I've gotten later into the event, something I've noticed, and I've seen a lot of other people talking about this exact same problem, and I don't know why, Abundant Shrine runs have gotten a lot harder. I don't know why, but the players were getting an Abundant Shrine run. Solo queuing, you know, early on, I was actually doing okay. I feel like day 1, I did like 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 9 runs. Like 8 out of the 9 runs were a win. And, you know, day 2 got a little bit rougher, but then it was okay. Or day 2 and then day 3. But, man, today's been rough. This has been like, I think today I did like 4 or 5 runs, and I think in total, and I want to say I maybe like 6 runs. I want to say I've won like 3 out of 6 runs today, maybe 3 out of 5. The amount of, and it's not even levers. If you have 1 lever, it's fine. What happens is it's always like 1 lever plus someone who doesn't know that the bag is shared. That's a really common. I really wish it told you that when you entered as a new player. A lot of new players, and that's a rough mistake that's hard to come back from when a new player uses all the Evo charms and strength charms on 2 different Pokemon. But I have come back from that, and that's fine. But what keeps happening is it's like a mixture of a million different problems. If we have 1 lever, that's okay. If we have 1 other person who uses all the charms, that's okay. But then on top of it, there's always someone who like all their Pokemon dies and they just AFK. So we're getting situations where literally everyone is trolling in some way or just doing really poorly, and it's okay to be a new player. It's okay to make mistakes. It's tough when 2 out of 3 people minimum are making game losing mistakes, or it's just really, really, really like detrimental. So, or also just like bad mentalities. I had a player who screamed at people and said like, oh, if you aren't, you know, doing stuff right now, if you aren't fighting, if I see you not fighting, fight or whatever, you know, I'm gonna leave. And I was like, hey man, like, you know, we're all trying our best, like we're all doing good, like, you know, let's just keep it up or whatever. And he just left. Like in response to that, I was like, hey man, like why are you so mad? Like, you know, like it's okay, like we're doing good. I said, like, you did a great job. I literally told him, hey, you did a good job, and then he left. So you know what, you know, this is the genuine new player experience, and that is the point of this series to some extent, to show you guys it's not easy, but it can be done. I want to reiterate that a ton and empower you guys to show you it can be done. You can earn huge amounts of Pokeyen like this. Boom, bam. Love collecting that, up to 1.6 mil. So that should be like more yen than I expected, is almost always what happens from these envelopes. But it might be time to start moving over to other methods like breeding for profit or just making raid Pokemon, because eventually Abundant Shrine will break your brain, especially if you are solo queuing. Honestly, I've run into a few people I've added as friends. I feel like one of the best strats is finding people who are actually good teammates throughout the raid or the shrine, adding them and looking to queue up with them later. That is one of the consistently best strats that I would super recommend to a new player. Don't be afraid to make new friends. Don't be afraid to be a little social, even if you're a little bit more of an introvert naturally. There's big benefits to it in PokeMMO, and it's not so bad if you're just typing to someone. So I really want to encourage people to go ahead and add people to your friends list and make new friends, as my Lucky Red envelopes sell as well. Nice. It's always like more Pokemon than I expect, but that's just a quick little update here. I will see you guys very soon once again. All right, but I think it is time to go ahead and breed our first raid Pokemon on the account, which I'm pretty excited to do, since I feel like that's a pretty big step, but it's one of our big goals, right? So I am going to go ahead and attempt to make a Murkrow. That's the main Pokemon that I want to go ahead and make. I'm going to throw some Pokemon in my PC. Do I have access to a Flame Body Pokemon? It probably is worth, you know what? Before I make some raid Pokemon and start some breeds, let's actually just go ahead and buy a Flame Body Pokemon. That'll also count as a utility Pokemon towards our goals. And you know what? While we're getting ourselves a Flame Body Pokemon, let's just go ahead and spend a little bit of extra yen. I think I'm going to go ahead and get myself this Litwick. Now, it's 35k, which is a lot during an event. This is going to be the positives and negatives of playing this game during an event. I can make a ton more Pokeyen during a Lunar New Year event, during the event edition of this challenge, but this Litwick would have cost like 2k outside of this event. This Litwick would have been way, way, way cheaper, but instead it cost me 35k. However, after I EV train this and XP train this, this is a raid ready Chandelure, which is a pretty good Pokemon for raid. So it's going to be a Flame Body Pokemon as well as a raid Pokemon. So it's a perfect doubling up of our slots and of our what we want to do with our Pokemon, right? So it's just always better to do that as a newer player. If you can kind of get 2 in 1, you might as well. Let's go ahead and look for a Murkrow. I think what I want to do is go for physical offense, I think, and maybe pack Sucker Punch on it. I feel like people always go defensive on a Murkrow, myself included, when it comes to raids, and I've actually noticed, this is from my experience with raids, I've noticed it's kind of a detriment. I feel like it actually just makes it worse. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy, this is so expensive. Once again, talk about unbelievably overpriced Pokemon that you would never, to be fair, Hidden Ability Murkrow is expensive. I think the base price, let's go check. I think the base price of a Hidden Ability Murkrow, yeah, is just 65k, so that's what you're going to have to cough up anyway. I'm going to go ahead and buy this one. Oh, this one's a lot better IVs and stuff, so it's so tempting. But I'm going to buy this one level 1 Murkrow. The Litwick won't be my OT unless I want to rebreed it, but I don't think I want to. I think I'm just going to EV train and XP train that. The Murkrow I am going to rebreed, so I do need to go buy a Pokemon now for it. Probably a Ditto, since it is male. I will keep the hidden ability now that since it already has hidden ability access unlocked. I'm going to keep in the bottom left-hand corner, you might have noticed the Windows calculator, how much it costs me to breed a Murkrow, and it's one of the more expensive raid breeds just because it's hidden ability access Murkrow, which has a decent base price. So let's now go look for a Ditto, and we're going to look for, I really need nature on it is the big thing. I kind of want to go, can Murkrow get Sucker Punch? I'm looking to maybe combine some sort of Murkrow plus Honchkrow combination. However, the problem is you can't actually turn it into a Honchkrow because Honchkrow doesn't have access to Prankster in the same way that Murkrow does, and that's why it's good. So with Murkrow, you're able to go Tailwind, Defog, Haze, and then what I would do is I'd probably go Sucker Punch in the final slot to like get some damage off with it as well. And it's not going to do as much damage as Honchkrow, obviously, but I think it's actually like a decent double usage. I don't know if it's worth doing this, to be honest, but I kind of want to for this account. So I'm going to look for a Adamant Natured Ditto mate with like 25 plus in all these stats, 20 plus there. The speed's kind of irrelevant, actually. We can do 20... 20 plus in defenses, sure. This is how I would look for a breed personally. Maybe do 20 plus, maybe 15 plus in defenses there. And look at this. Every single Ditto right now is just going to be criminally expensive. What about something Lonely or Naughty? 12k, it's a lot more reasonable. Let's check Naughty as well. Lonely seems to be the better nature at the moment. It seems like catching Pokemon could honestly be better than it usually is. Yeah, I'm going to buy this Ditto. That's 12k, so plus 12k over onto our cost. Now I do have to go buy an Everstone to Everstone the nature on the Ditto, 5k for that, so we'll do plus 5k cost there. Go ahead and pop that Everstone onto the Ditto. Now, breeding Pokemon is kind of advanced, and it's not something I'd recommend to new players. You can make a lot of Pokeyen breeding Pokemon, but this is honestly something. If you're a newer player, I mean, I recommend learning breeding, but if you're new during an event, this might not be something that is going to be capable or, you know, available for you. This is a pretty, I think breeding's tough, but maybe I'm just overestimating as well. Do we need any edge moves on our Murkrow? That's something I always want to think about as well. I probably should have thought about that sooner, but that's okay. I don't think we do. We could do something like ladder. I don't think we do. I think we're just good. Psycho Shift. Sometimes Psycho Shift has been used at certain raids in the past, but this is a budget raid Pokemon. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and click breed. So it did cost us about 100k to make our Murkrow, but that's 100k for a raid Pokemon. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now we'll end up adding Sucker Punch and movesetting it later, which will cost some Pokeyen, but that's not too bad. 100k for a raid Pokemon breed is pretty nice in my opinion. Now, since I'll be doing EV training and XP training, I also need a Sweet Scent Pokemon, and I'm trying to think of a way that I can double up the usage of that Pokemon once again, like I talked about. You really want to make sure you're able to utilize a Pokemon in 2 different ways if need be. Now, not a raid Pokemon by any means, but I think I do want to go ahead and just pick up a Tropius. Tropius ends up being a really, really good HM friend Pokemon that can do a lot of things, have access to Sweet Scent, have access to Fly, and just sort of be very, very, very versatile. Like, as you can see, this one actually has like Sweet Scent, Rock Smash, Cut, Fly now. Do I want to pay the price for that? I don't think so. Like, there's no reason to pay 18k. It's really cheap, but if you don't have to, you know, why would you? So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one, I think, and then probably just relearn Sweet Scent. Yeah, this one costs 4k, so we're gonna pay 4k for this Tropius. Go head over to a PC, use some of our heart scales that we already bought to then relearn Sweet Scent, and we'll see these heart scales that I bought at one point coming up over and over again as beneficial. So we also go ahead and teach him Fly. I've been using a Murkrow that I bought a Murkrow off the GTL for Tailwind. I don't even know if I talked about that actually in video, but I bought this, Crobat. I bought this Crobat for pretty cheap, really cheap off the GTL as a Fly Pokemon that can also help me in these storyline runs if I got it to, but apparently it's over leveled, but that's okay. But I might even be able to use this in raids if I put Tailwind on it. There are certain raids where you actually want a Crobat over Murkrow for Tailwind. And if we just revisit our goals really quick, I want to talk about this. Make 1 million Pokeyen, we've essentially already done, but I'd like to also end the challenge with at least 1 million Pokeyen cash on top of everything else. So 1 million Pokeyen essentially already done. Raid Pokemon, I have about, it seems like at least one of those, probably 2 of those so far after I EV train up the Litwick and I have the Murkrow. So I probably already have 2 raid Pokemon that I will have to go put a lot of time into EV training. XP training, utility Pokemon, I now also have the Flame Body Chandelure, which will count as a utility Pokemon, as well as my HM friend Tropius, as well as a catching Breloom. I'm not going to count the Crobat technically as a utility Pokemon in my opinion, even though it just has an HM move. I wouldn't count that personally, but these are actual utility Pokemon in my opinion. So we already have like 3 utility Pokemon. I still have to beat the storyline. I do need to beat the Elite Four. That'll be the one storyline done. And then vanities for fun. I will be getting more of these. However, while we're here, while we're chilling, I feel like it'd be a very Patrouski vanity to go ahead and pick up a flower crown. It looks really cute in the spiky black hair. There we go. I think it's easier to look silly and cute in video games and MMOs than looking cool and edgy. It's kind of an impossible task, so without looking too cringe in my personal opinion, but there we go. We'll look goofy today for sure. All right, now our Murkrow did hatch. Let's check the stats. Came out lonely, and then 20 plus in all these stats that we need. Exactly what we needed. Nothing too complicated. Just up to EV training this in attack and speed. But before I start EV training, I'd like to get as many Pokemon as to EV train as I can. I only have 1 XP share, but I will be buying extra XP shares to go EV train and then going ahead and essentially selling them off after I'm done with them. You can always buy XP shares or buy certain items like that and then sell them off after you're done with them. And here I am teaching my Tropius Sweet Scent. It is going to cost, it seems like, 2 heart scales, but that is unbelievably worth it. And then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and go grab a PP Max, which is always worth it. If you're going to be doing any sorts of just horde anything in PokeMMO, which pretty much everything uses horde. It's like XP training, EV training, shiny hunting. If you are playing PokeMMO at all, you're probably using horde. So I'm going to go PP Max the Sweet Scent as well, and then heal up. And then you can keybind that by heading over to the moves on the Pokemon and then going ahead and applying it to one of the hotkey bars like that with the big star. And then I can go teach my Samurott Surf like this over Aquatail. And now, if I wanted to, I could go do ×5 hordes of Pokemon, surf them down, and EV train and XP train multiple Pokemon at once. And now, if you're looking for one of the most versatile raid Pokemon possible, you definitely want to make yourself a Darmanitan. The Pokemon just has a monster base attack stat of like 135 or 140, something like that, rivaling almost that of Groudon. And then on top of it, let's go make our Pokemon. Let's go sort actually. Let's go name this raid. But on top of it, he has 2 of the best dual typing for raids. He has fire type stab attacks, which can hit really, really hard under sun teams, which are obviously very, very good in raids. And then he also has can throw off really good fighting type moves. Now, he's not actually a fighting type Pokemon, but with the base attack, he might as well be, because he can throw off some insane superpowers and just hit some of the most powerful, best raids in PokeMMO with really hard fighting type attacks, as well as really hard fire type attacks under sun. So back to tracking our prices, we spent 97k on the Murkrow. I specifically just want to track how much it costs to make Pokemon, to make all my raid Pokemon. So I spent 97k on the Murkrow. I did spend 36k, I think, on the Litwick, so we're going to track that as well. I want to genuinely see how much Pokeyen it costs to make essentially 6 raid-ready Pokemon. And then obviously some hard skills and stuff like that. Maybe we'll just bump up the yen stack by a bit at the end. But let's go ahead and breed this Darumaka. So honestly, if I was breeding a PvP Darmanitan, like it's not great, obviously, for PvP. But this could work if you're a beginner player trying to get into PvP. This would be solid. However, in raids and in PVM content, you really want the plus attack stat. You want the plus damage nature. It is that important. It is that relevant. So thankfully, we do have a female Darumaka, which means we can actually pair it with the egg group. So we don't have to look for a Ditto. So it should be, even during an event like this, I would guess this is going to be decently cheap, but I could be mistaken. Let's try to keep those defense stats high if possible. What I would do is search for a field egg group Pokemon male. Stats like this. And then here it is, a Rattata. That's all we needed. A Rattata with Lonely Nature is only going to be 2,000 yen. If it's that cheap, like maybe I can honestly, never mind. I don't want to pay 6k. Let's just pay that 2k. That's honestly so cheap that I'm so down. Let's pay that 2k, and then also grab an Everstone. So that is going to be a total we'll do plus 8k to round up from the Everstone being 5,500-ish. Plop the Everstone over onto the Rattata, head over to the Daycare Man, and then follow through with this breed. This is a great example of, like, you can find insane deals and make really, really cheap raid Pokemon. Pretty sure this Darumaka costed me, what? A total of 8k here, 10k. I think this entire Darumaka, yeah, costed 10k. That's it. This is a 10k raid Pokemon. Like, don't let people make you think that you need to have the best of the best raid Pokemon. I don't know how many raids I'll be doing on this account, but I want to at least try to beat 1. And I'm pretty confident that if you can beat 1 with the certain Pokemon with the IVs, you could beat pretty much all the other raids. Maybe Slacking, you might want better IV Pokemon, but that's because he is a special beast. So we've officially spent 141,000 Pokeyen and created 3 different raid Pokemon. Now, obviously, I have to put a lot of time and effort into them, so it's not really the freest cost in the world. I'm gonna have to go spend a lot of time EV training and XP training, but that's also how most people, and I think especially new players, make their raid ready Pokemon. All right, our Darumaka has hatched. Let's go ahead and check it out. Nothing really surprising here, just a solid Darumaka like we expected with Lonely Nature. And I think I want to go ahead and breed like 1 more physical attacking raid Pokemon while we're here, at least, if not more than that. Let's go ahead and look into possibly breeding a Mienfoo. Or just buying one to go ahead and XP train and EV train, which I honestly hard prefer versus breeding one. There's not really a reason to breed one. If I can buy one Adamant Nature 20 plus in both the attacks for 10k, that's a really good price for a Pokemon like that during event season. And then once again, all of these Pokemon are going to be significantly cheaper outside of event season on average. So definitely something to look out for, to watch out for if you're watching this series a few months down the road. And then it's not conventional, but I might go ahead and just try to use this Breloom as a raid Pokemon as one of my 6, I guess, for when I go do some of the normal type, like destroyed by fighting type attack raids. So I might rock with that. And then if I'm doing that, if I'm looking to just destroy normal type, Pokemon, stuff like that, the next thing, or then possibly able to, work on a Suns with that as well. The next step is going to be getting a Blaziken. It's not one of the most powerful. Blaziken is not one of the most powerful Pokemon at all when it comes to raids and like late game PVM like that, but it's versatile. It's versatile and it can do multiple things in a raid, and it being able to go into multiple different raid teams, once again with that fire fighting typing, is pretty nice. The big problem is the speed. Being 80 base stat speed, you kind of have to make sure you're making up for that with Tailwind, but we're almost always going to have Tailwind up. Sometimes it can still be too slow, but I'm going to hope this this works out. And here is a really cheap Combustion Naughty for 5k. I'm getting a kind of a decent steals, honestly, on a few of these raid Pokemons. That was plus 5k. I think that's going to straight up end up being like 156,000 Pokeyen for, we're not going to include the Brelums. I don't remember what I paid for that, but that's 156,000 Pokeyen for 5 really, really solid raid Pokemon. It's time to get to EV training. I'm starting to think I maybe made a bit too much Pokeyen, but I am going to have to buy items as well. That's going to include things like Choice Bands, Life Orb, Scarfs. It's going to be expensive, so honestly, I'm glad I kind of stocked up. Now, I got a ton done today. I made a few 100,000 Pokeyen. I made a new HM friend Pokemon and some certain utility Pokemon. I made storyline progress. I got a Vanity for 7k. And then on top of it, made all of these new raid Pokemon. So that's going to be it for me today. The EV training, XP training, and storyline continuance is going to have to wait for another day. But I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope you're enjoying the series, and I hope you're feeling empowered on how to make it and what to do in PokeMMO in the year 2025 as a new player. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for videos every single day. Follow the Twitch for streams like this, usually Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord is down below if you're interested in that. And if you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo donations do go an extremely long way in allowing me to make content in the first place. And only do so if you can afford it, as well as my content has earned it from you. Have a great day. I will see you guys later. Peace, Reno. Hey, thank you so very much for watching until the very end of the video. That means the world to me. And if your name is listed here, you're the reason I'm able to do this in the first place by going above and beyond and supporting the channel via YouTube memberships and Twitch Primes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.